Welcome back to Game On. Let's continue the conversation. We are chatting all things English football. We're starting off with a big one, and I would love to get Shane's thoughts. It's Man City taking on Liverpool. The two teams that are currently at the top of the log, we are expecting a big one. What are you expecting of this one?
Huge game, and obviously the early game this week, which is a nice thing, but I expect a very difficult game for both sides. Once again, after the break, you don't know how players have reacted. Injuries in international duty, such and such. A very difficult game to call. I actually think, and not as a Liverpool supporter, I'm talking now with my head, I think Liverpool can get something out of this. I've liked the way they've been playing, I've liked the way they've gone about things, and I've liked the way they've been playing against Man City of late. So for me, I think if they got all their players, there are some doubts about injuries, but if they got all their players and they got the full team, I think they're going to get something out of this game against Man City, either a win or a draw, but I do think that they'll take points off City.
You talk about injuries being a big talking point heading into such a big encounter. A player like De Bruyne, a player like Erling Haaland, how much have City actually depended on these players, and can they adapt going into the rest of the season if these players are out for quite some time?
Well, let's answer that with Haaland straight away. If they lose Haaland, they're in big trouble. Not big trouble, but they're in trouble. He's their focal point in the team. He's the one that gets the goals for them, obviously, as we've seen what a good goal scorer he is. He's the guy that they play around. And I mean, he's always in the box. He's always hunting. He's sniffing around. He's the best striker for me in world football by far at the moment. And you can bring Lewandowski, all of them in. I think he's the best one at the moment, and still a youngster. De Bruyne, they've seemed to have done without him in the last few months. Obviously, he is a class player. You want him in the team. But they seem to have done well without him. There have been a few upsets, and that's got to do with him as well. He links up well with Haaland. So they want him back. But for me, if you're going to lose a player, Haaland's going to be the biggest one if they do lose him. It's like Liverpool, Van Dijk.
Yeah.
They lose him, they lose a lot of leadership. They lose the rudder, basically. So top-class players you don't want to be without when you're coming up, especially in games like this.
Talking about top-class players that aren't playing this weekend, I know that Andre Onana is an injury concern for Manchester United, a team that has been treading on hot water. Erik ten Hag, very, very close to losing his job. How will injury concerns affect Erik ten Hag heading into this weekend against Everton?
Might be a blessing in disguise, Onana's only started showing a little bit of consistency in the last few weeks before, the international break. He's had some howlers where he's letting goals and made some bad mistakes. Ten Hag's under big pressure, and I think this weekend, and people are going to look at me like I'm mad, and I think he's going to be under even bigger pressure because he's going to come up against a very resilient Everton team. They've done fairly well. I'm sure they've just been docked some points as well, which are going to make them even hungrier, and just to prove a point. So for me, I think Everton will get something out of this game. Man United are not clicking at all. There just seems to be something going on in that camp, and I'm not too sure what it is. You look at Fernandes, the way he carries on. Just a few of the players, heads down, no confidence. It's very disconcerting for me, especially from Ten Hag as well. I think he's got to turn it around in the next few weeks, or otherwise he's going to be turning around and leaving the stadium for good. But I do think Everton will get something out of this. Unfortunately, like I say, dock points, hungry for success. I think a draw on the cards up, but maybe even a win for Everton.
You mentioned that point deduction, because they apparently breached some financial rules. Will that motivate the players to drive even harder this season? Because 10 points is quite a lot.
It's a huge amount of points, and it's put them basically last in the league, and they've got to fight for everything now. I hope they're going to be doing this to all the other clubs that have breached financial concerns, and we're not mentioning too many clubs, but there's been a few, about a few clubs. But it'll make the players hungry now. It's just a point to prove that they need to stay there and they need to stay up. And that's the only way to do it, is go out and get victories and get results. So I think it'll make them hungrier. They've gone, we went just before the break, they were in great form. So I think they're going to continue their form. And this could even entice them more to play even harder to get out of that so-called position where they're at the moment in the bottom.
You talk about chasing points, ensuring that you get victories. Tottenham Hotspur and their new coach, Postecoglou, that's a guy who surprised me quite a lot this season. I wasn't expecting him to do so well in the English Premier League.
I always thought he would do well because he's that type of guy that gets the players to play for him. And he's got that there. He's built a unit and he's got players that are, there's no Harry Kane, once again we talk about him. And they've got players that are stars, but he's got them to play for him. Play as a unit, play in the way he wants to play. But having said that, he's coming up against a very well-drilled, a very good Aston Villa team this weekend. I just don't like the way Spurs went in the last year. I mean, yeah, they had 2 players sent off. They had, they were struggling in that last game. But Villa are a very difficult team to break down, very difficult team to beat. I actually think Villa are going to get the victory in this one, and it's going to be his first home defeat for me. So upset on the card, Villa won.
In terms of the top 4 positions, can we expect that Tottenham Hotspur will finish in the top 4? Because their form has shown that this could be a special season for them.
At the end of the day, the 4th position will be great for them. They'll be happy with just finishing their 4, but that's going to be very difficult to do. You've got Man City, you've got Liverpool, Arsenal, who I still say are big title contenders. So you've got those 3 teams that should fall the top 3. And then you've got Newcastle, you've got Aston Villa. So that 4th position is going to be difficult for me. Whether they can do it, I'm not too sure. But at the end of the day, it's a very good season compared to what last season was. So for them to finish in Europe in the top 7 will be great. To finish the top 4 will be even better. But it's going to be difficult.
Looking at Arsenal, a team that came very, very close last season. This season, they're quite consistent.
Yeah.
What do they need to do differently this season? Maybe just to beat City? Because a lot of the Arsenal fans will tell you that we've got it in us. We showed last season.
Well, they got it in them. They showed earlier in the season where they beat City. They went out and got the result. I think they've matured as a team. Declan Rice has been the best buyer for them by far. He's made them more consistent. I actually think that they've learned the lesson from last year. They've become battle-hardened now, and they're going to push all the way and be very close to winning the title. They're one of my favourites to win it, so watch out for them.
To put you on the spot, do you think City will win the title? We are heading into the halfway break. Is it too early to call it?
It might be a bit too early, but I don't think they're actually going to win it. I think it's going to be fought up between Liverpool and Arsenal.
Wow. Big statement from Shane. I would like to get your thoughts. Do you think that City could possibly win it, or alternatively Liverpool or Arsenal could take it? I would love for you to join the conversation. Remember, you are tuned into Game On, and the next conversation that we will be having is all about Shane's favorite league, the Bundesliga. Stay tuned.